Hey everyone, really excited for this chat today. The UCAS space, thanks to Call Tower, is really getting interesting again with so much news coming up ahead. Things like AI-powered CX, Teams and WebEx mobility, WhatsApp integration, eSIM innovation, on and on and on. We're going to dive in that with William. How are you, William?
Evan, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you very much for having me on. Looking forward to the conversation today. I'm doing pretty good.
And it's been a minute, so I'm really excited for this update. Before we get to the latest news announcements, how do you describe Call Tower these days with everything that's going on in the AI-powered collaboration space?
Yeah, I think every year it kind of changes, right? We're moving so quickly right now as far as where we're going in the space. But really, I think for us, when you look at us, we are really a managed service provider in cloud communications. So we've expanded. I think usually people would have identified us more in the UC and in the contact center space in the cloud. And now I think with the added services and platforms that we're looking at with CX on a global level, it's really just changed our perspective that we're not just adding licenses from a UC or from even a contact center side. We're adopting AI across the entire spectrum, and it might be things that are focused a little bit more in the contact center, or it might just be on the business outcomes that we're looking at for customers that are really trying to drive growth and efficiencies within their organization, and even on the UC side, which it's kind of a little bit more unique and kind of a little bit harder to put your arms around. But I think when you look at that overall, managed service provider is probably the one that kind of comes to mind a little bit better. So, you know what? It's just a great time to be in this type of industry overall. And we're looking forward to what we're going to be doing here over the next 5-10 years.
Indeed. And separately, you just announced a big strategic investment from Court Square Capital Partners. Tell us about this. Is this growth mode, acquisition mode, expansion mode, all the above?
Yes, and yes, right? It's all it's all the above. So, we the first time we actually did a private equity arrangement or agreement was with BV, which is out of Boston, and just great guys overall there. They still got a vested interest in us overall, and they just saw the growth that we had, the how we were working well with our partners in the community, and the technology that we were adapting to actually deliver through our customers, to our customers through our partners. And we just saw that there was an availability there to actually continue to grow that, both organic and non-organic. So Court Square was interested in looking for a type of organization that had that hyper growth that we've had. And we were excited to meet with them and really just continue down that journey. We've expanded to pretty much every continent in the world. We're aggressively looking for some good M&A strategy, and it could be both just from a product standpoint or also just expansion into certain markets that require more of that local representation that we're looking for overall. And then just the organic piece, right? I mean, just making sure that we're working with our go-to-market strategies and channels that we have, that we can continue to grow the organization. And, the M&A piece is always fascinating. It's kind of a part-time job that we do because you got to do your normal job. But, at the heart of the matter or at the heart of the success is really that organic growth and working with our partners and driving the right solutions for our customers and making sure that we're doing right by them.
Oh, great. Well said. So we're finally moving to a world where your work follows you everywhere and automagically almost, from your car to your laptop to the office to home, for good and for bad, but mostly for good. And the technology empowering it is getting really interesting these days. I saw your eSIM announcement for Teams and WebEx. It seemed really practical, very utilitarian. I have 3 eSIMs in my phone that are just really useful for travel, international travel especially. And I think the business world, especially SMEs, are kind of waking up. Why is mobile identity now such a big deal for enterprise communications?
Speaking of being a road warrior myself, right? I mean, I'm always kind of on the road, and I think it's just important, and the flexibility that it brings to the device overall, I think is really important. And some people might sit there and say, well, I have a a Teams app or I have a WebEx or Zoom, kind of the leaders in the UC space. And you say, yeah, but you still have to click on the app. You still got to make sure that you're dialing through the app, right? When you want to go out there and really just represent the organization. And then there's the compliance pieces of it. But when you're doing that once or twice a week or doing that once or twice a day, might not be a big issue. But when you're constantly doing that, when that's just part of your everyday routine, it can become a little tedious. And that's, I think, one of the simplest or one of the major things I should say that the eSIM product really goes ahead and really solves, right? I don't want to think about those extra steps that I have to do. I just want to pick up the phone and make a call and know that my call tower number is showing up, that I could communicate with my vendors, with my internal employees, with my customers, that they see that it is from call tower that the call is being made, that the call can be recorded, that the call can have the analytics around it that I need to overall so that I could drive better data and better outcomes for my customers and my vendors overall. And all those things, when you're looking at adopting that eSIM, they just play a part. They just really just become kind of second nature. And even something as simple as if I need to get a subject matter expert on the call that might not be in my contact center type of environment, and that call is going to be transferred to him or her, you want to make sure that you complete that call and that you understand, what was the outcome so that you have that data. And a lot of times those are things that get lost. And then I think from a security standpoint or an IT standpoint, the security team just likes the compliance piece, right? I mean, I think that's very important to make sure that you're compliant, especially when you're traveling or even if you do work remote or you're in an airport in different countries, there's different compliance guidelines that you have to work with. I mean, even here in the States, we have different ones per state as well. So you can imagine also going overseas, right? It kind of becomes a big quagmire and it's a big mess. So you want to make sure that you have that. So I'm a big fan of it. We just announced, like you mentioned, Evan, a really great promotion for all of our customers that we're giving them the eSIM product for free for up to 6 months on basic. And then from there, I think it's $2 a month for the entry level one, but it's still a really good product. And we figure probably not, it's not something for everybody. We understand that some employees don't need it or don't really want that type of solution overall. Probably about 20 to 25% of the end users really do use it and need it. And we're finding that some customers, like anything, some customers more might need it just depending the type of business that they're in, and some a little bit less. But we got right now users that are using it across the globe and in places like China and other places in Southeast Asia, which might be a little bit more challenging, obviously, in Eastern Europe and so forth. But just really get to actually see that really taking off.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. I've seen you've been talking a lot about conversational AI and AI agents in the contact center. What are people deploying now? What are they trialing? And where are we with this really exciting tech?
Yeah, I think we're kind of going through a second phase of an evolution right now, because I think when you start to look at AI, especially, and first I'll address it on the CX side, you started to have the likes of the top leaders in the space, Five9, Genesys, NICE, and so forth, TalkDesk, Cisco and Zoom, that they all kind of had a package AI when you're looking at conversational AI and agentic AI. And I think that they've done a really good job of a roadmap coverage as far as where they're at today and where they're going here in the next 6 to 12 months overall. But now there's also been kind of a new entry, and not really new, it's been around for a little while, but you really got some niche type of platforms that are out there. And we partner with a couple of them like SesTech and Perloa that depending on the volume that you have and depending on the needs of your business, one of those type of core platforms that you're using on your contact center just might not be enough. And that's when you look at an organization like Call Tower, we're trying to drive those right solutions for customers by bringing those alternative options that you could layer on, whether it be to your UC or whether it be to your contact center, to really drive those right outcomes for your customers, because it just might not be enough of what's out there. So I think that now you're starting to see a lot of these organizations. I mean, everybody wants a .ai at the end of their URL overall, but you're going to start to see, I think, some fallout as far as who's really the main players and who's really delivering a really good product and who's a little bit more smoke and mirrors, I think, overall on what they could do. And I think it will get a little bit more industry specific. So I do think that you're going to see some AI technology that's going to be very specific for healthcare, some that's going to be very specific for the finance world, manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. I think that you're going to see a little bit of more definitive type of AI structure and platforms for each one of those different industries.
Interesting. Well, interesting to watch for sure. And speaking of integrations, you've leaned into WhatsApp integration as well. I sort of live in WhatsApp. 2 years, 3 years ago, I wasn't even using it. I guess I've been dragged in. And it sounds like what you're doing is smart because people need to communicate with people in an AI world. Do you think enterprise communication is finally adopting more consumer-like open platforms?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think when you look at and we did this, and a little bit of history there, I promise I won't bore you too much, but what we did right now with WhatsApp and the integration with Microsoft Teams is exactly the same thing that we did back in the day with SMS and MMS, with Microsoft Teams and with Cisco WebEx and Zoom. And that's what we're doing right now with WhatsApp. It's really just another communication method that a lot of end users want to go ahead and look at or want the alternative to have. And obviously in North America, especially more in the United States, text messaging is very big, right? There's a heavy concentration of that. But for somebody like myself that travels all over the world, WhatsApp is really the main communication, right? Whether you're talking to an employee or you're talking to a vendor or a supplier or even a customer, everyone say, "Oh, just connect with me on WhatsApp. It's a lot easier." So we looked at that and we said, "Hey, we have to really deliver that solution to our customers." Our customers and our partners were demanding it. We've seen some really good traction, especially outside of the US with the WhatsApp integration, that you could be a WhatsApp user and you could basically just send an instant message to a Teams user within an organization. And that Teams user, they're working on their day-to-day type of routine, and they can just IM you back and it goes directly to your WhatsApp account, which I think is really cool, right? I think it's definitely something that's very unique. We are going to be expanding that to the other core UC platforms here very soon as well. But with Microsoft Teams, we've seen some really good demand on it and some really good success on it overall. I mean, it's just why force people to communicate one way or another, right? The whole idea is to drive the right solutions that all of these core platforms across the board could communicate with each other. And it's like, if I prefer to use Teams and you prefer to use WhatsApp and somebody else prefers to use Zoom, who cares? We should all be able to go ahead and communicate in our preferred type of platform, make sure that they're all integrated, obviously keeping security and keeping compliance and so forth, top of mind, but making sure that we could at least communicate back and forth. And that's what it's about, right? It's really communicating.
Exactly. And so hybrid work is clearly well established. In fact, I think we're going back to the office at scale now, even here in places like Boston, Fidelity, 100% back to the office, to the consternation of quite a few of their employees and commuters. So in the big picture now, what communications headaches are companies still trying to fix in 2026, or have we fixed everything?
Yeah, I think it's still a trial and error right now, right? You're right. You have some organizations that are saying, no, you're coming back to the office Monday through Friday. You have some organizations that are saying 2 or 3 times a week, and some other days you can work from home, depending on if you travel. Some are putting restrictions on where you live. So if you live within a certain radius of an office, then you do have to report to the office. And look, I think it's a give and take, right? I mean, as somebody that travels all the time, I don't have an office I have to go to when I am working from my home office. But I think for a lot of people, they like that interaction, that collaboration. And sure, you collaborate on video, you collaborate on instant message, you collaborate all the time on meetings. And I think it's good to have a good balance and a good structure on both to go ahead and have both overall. So I think that employees have been somewhat shocked because they have been used to for the last 3 or 4 years, and probably started happening around 24 that everybody started to say it's now time to come back into the office. I think a lot of employees were shocked that was happening. But I think as they come back to the office and that social outlet, I think is very important. I think we kind of forget about that a little bit, that sure, we're on a screen and we do work and everything. And look, I'm a big component of being all on computers and video and everything. And I think that there's a big place for that. But I do look forward when I go and I have our board meetings or or I do our executive offsites. I do like actually going out and sitting in a room for a couple of days with some of the guys and just collaborating as well. So I do think you need a mix of both. And even with customers, I mean, there's some customers that I will fly into a certain city and I'll say, hey, I just want to meet with you at least over coffee. And it's just great just to sit and break bread with them for about 15, 20 minutes and keep going. But I think it does help. I think you need a combination of both.
Yeah, and I think the new endpoints we have for the boardroom, as you mentioned, or meeting rooms, are so good and so ubiquitous, and they've got face tracking and super high resolution and spatial audio. It's not the old Polycom in the middle of the boardroom anymore. Those days are.
Yeah, and the emotional part of it, right? It tells you who's engaged in the meeting, who's not.
Oh, it's great.
It's kind of a little scary at times.
A little scary, but it's really great for those remote participants. You mentioned security a minute ago, and I think it's worse than ever when it comes to voice AI, deepfakes, spam calls. I just can't answer my phone anymore. AI generated scams now, phishing. What are you worried about? What are your customers worried about right now? And what are you trying to push for to help on the tech front?
You know, how great would it be if they would actually go ahead and actually take the effort that they put into causing fraudulent type of work into actually trying to advance the technology. I think they would make more money instead of trying to be fraudsters. But, you know, I guess you got to have some bad characters out there overall. And, you know, from our standpoint, and we're a little bit of in a challenge mode because since we do work across the globe, there's a lot of different compliance regulations that we have to have, even within somewhere like the EU that, you know, it's the EU, but if you look at the Benelux region compared to one of the other regions, the DAX region and so forth, they have different compliance regulations that we have to look at as well. So it is definitely a challenge. And with us, it's really about both ends of that communication stack, right? Meaning that, especially around calls, when you have the spam calls, you know, what's the inbound, what's the outbound? You want to make sure that your call is not being considered a spam overall. So we do work with certain organizations like Mutari that we do have a spam filtering that's in there to make sure that it's kind of like your credit score that you have here in the US. It's kind of like your credit on your calls to make sure that they're completing and also to make sure that you're credit worthy. Like, hey, this is not really a spam call. You're not calling the same number 3 times within a minute and getting hangups overall. So I think that that's really important. And I think right now I'm actually very happy to see what a lot of the governments are starting to do. And in the US, we had Stir Shaken and some of the other ones that are going on in Canada and going on over in the EU. I think it's important. You know, I think it's definitely something that's important that we need. And then, like you mentioned, I mean, I probably get 20 calls a day and probably 18 of them are probably spam, right? That it's just like, what are they doing? What are they calling? And that's already been somewhat eliminated overall. So I think you're going to see organizations and you're going to see the regulatory agencies within countries continue to track down. I know the FCC, they just published a report last week on what is called Know Your Provider, right? Everybody knows a KYC, Know Your Customer, but now it's about, I think it's Know Your Underlying Provider. I think it's called CUP. Is the new abbreviation. And it's really about, hey, if you're working with a partner like a call tower or somebody else that's providing your service, what carriers are they using underneath to complete those calls across the globe, which we all work together, right? I mean, that's not unique to us. That's something that we have to do. And I think it's important that it's like, yeah, check under the hood, right? See who it is that organizations like us are using. And that's going to really drive some of the decision making from a security standpoint, because the last thing you want is your IP or you're calling to be blacklisted overall, and then the completions are just not there. And we've seen that with some instances with some customers that it could be very detrimental to the business. So I think it's very important. I think it's something that we're going to have to continue to do to help, especially with AI fraud now being a big thing, making sure that you can at least try to stay ahead of the bad imposters, right? Is really the big thing.
Staying ahead of the bad guys. Well said. So UCAS, you know, we're a mature industry. A lot of the players are well known, well understood. But what do you think the industry is underestimating? What are some surprises that you see out there on the upside and opportunities that folks might not be aware of?
Yeah, I think on the UC side, it's the move to the cloud. I think from the enterprise space, I still think we haven't hit the top of that bell-shaped curve. I think we're done with the early adapters. I think some of the enterprise businesses have started to move, but you still have a lot of prem-based type of solutions out there that, not that they're bad solutions, but the challenges of trying to integrate with an AI platform, or trying to integrate with a contact center in the cloud, or your CRM, or your ERP, all those different things really make a big difference. And I think that slowly but surely, these customers are saying, hey, at a certain point, we just have to make that move, right? We've invested in this equipment that's sitting here on my desk. It's connected to my computer. I hardly ever use it. I use it as a glorified speakerphone. Most times I make my calls through the computer. Why do I need that anymore? Or I just have the earbuds, right? Or I just have a headset on, that type of stuff. So I still think you still have more of that transition that's going to happen overall, especially with the advancements that we're seeing in cloud communications overall and how it's integrating. I still think if you're going to see over the next, I'd probably say 2027, 2028, you're going to see another increase of that UC overall. It's a mature market, but I still think there's a lot of growth there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what are you looking forward to over the next weeks, quarter or two? A little quieter over the summer, I imagine, but any events, any travel?
June seems to be always a pretty busy month overall. So there definitely is some travel. Going to be doing some travel over to Europe overall, and then hopefully July will be a little bit quieter and spend some more time at home. And then August, it's back off to the races between August, September, October. Then it starts to die down a little bit, right before the Thanksgiving time frame. But we are right now in potential acquisition mode with. We always call it kind of window shopping, right? We're always kind of looking out there to see any good opportunities that we can really just drive impactful solutions for our customers. And that's really, what it comes down to. We listen to them, we listen to our partner. We're very big in the indirect channel and work with a lot of our partners there to make sure that we can drive the right solutions for their customers. So always looking and making sure that we're 6 months ahead of where we want to be, especially from a technology roadmap.
Well, you have your hands full. Congratulations on all the success and onwards and upwards.
Evan, thank you very much. I appreciate the questions and conversation. Look forward to the next one, and hopefully seeing you in person here soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, William. Thanks, everyone, for listening, watching. Be sure to check out our TV show, techimpact.tv, now on Bloomberg Television and Fox Business Monthly. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, William.
Thank you.